News of the destruction has likely reached even the most heavily fortified and isolated bunkers. The dramatic scenes unfolding over Moscow on Thursday may represent a moment when even the Kremlin's protective bubble could not block the reality of repeated explosions just miles from the Russian capital. Strikes on oil refineries sent thick black smoke drifting across Moscow's skyline, creating a stark visual reminder of the war's growing reach. Videos shared by Russian citizens on social media reveal two significant developments. First, they show that Moscow's extensive air defense network, reportedly layered in multiple rings, was breached by relatively inexpensive drones. These are the same types of mass-produced weapons that Ukraine once struggled to defend against but now launches regularly into Russian territory. The footage captures refinery structures torn apart, fires burning near the capital, and the prospect of a serious environmental crisis. Beyond the immediate destruction, the attacks could disrupt fuel supplies and potentially lead to shortages in a city that the Kremlin has worked hard to shield from the consequences of the conflict. The second story emerging from these videos is one of growing public frustration and the political risks that accompany it. Despite efforts by Russian authorities to limit the spread of such content, citizens continue posting footage online, highlighting cracks in official messaging. Since a drone struck the Kremlin in May 2023, Ukraine's ability to reach Moscow has become increasingly evident, even forcing a scaled-back Victory Day parade earlier this year. Thursday's wave of videos, showing drones arriving in successive attacks and igniting multiple fires, offered a rare and vivid demonstration of the pressure facing the Kremlin. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky described the strikes as retaliation for Russia's ongoing nightly bombardments, including attacks that recently targeted one of Kiev's most historic and sacred religious sites. Zelensky appears to have emerged from the G7 summit with renewed confidence, despite mixed signals from U.S. President Donald Trump regarding support for Ukraine. Rather than expecting major political commitments from Washington, Zelensky seems focused on securing practical advantages. One notable outcome of the summit was the suggestion that Ukraine could potentially manufacture Western air defense systems and missiles under license. While details remain unclear, such an arrangement could help address shortages in the United States and Europe while strengthening Ukraine's long-term defense capabilities. It also demonstrates that Kiev retains leverage despite the challenges it faces. Whether Trump remains committed to pursuing a peace settlement is uncertain. Even he must recognize that the Kremlin has shown little interest in meaningful compromise so far. European leaders continue to hope that diplomatic channels remain open. Recent statements from Britain, France, and Germany reaffirmed their support for a negotiated settlement, though their long-standing demand for a ceasefire remains unacceptable to Moscow. There is persistent optimism that Putin may eventually seek a path out of the conflict, given the battlefield stalemate and Russia's ongoing struggles to defend its airspace. Some of his recent comments have hinted at possible flexibility, though their meaning remains ambiguous. At the same time, his response to Ukrainian strikes has consistently leaned toward escalation rather than de-escalation. As images circulate of black residue reportedly falling across Moscow following the refinery attacks, the responsibility for determining the war's future remains with Putin. It may be wishful thinking to expect a rapid shift toward diplomacy, especially after years of decisions that have prolonged the conflict despite immense costs. Throughout the war, Putin has repeatedly made strategic miscalculations, from expecting a swift capture of Kiev to underestimating logistical weaknesses and the toll of prolonged attritional warfare. He also appeared to believe that political pressure from abroad could secure concessions from Ukraine that never materialized. For years, Putin cultivated an image of calm, calculated control. Yet the scale of the challenges now confronting Russia, from attacks near the capital to disruptions along critical supply routes, must increasingly influence decision-making in Moscow. Whether that pressure leads toward negotiation or further escalation remains an open question.